Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our patrons who kept us going for 309 episodes.
It's getting longer. It's making me feel old. I shorn the beard.
Oh,
to
very
look
nice.
younger.
to look younger.
To look beautiful.
Or you could go shave it all the way off and you look like you're 12 years old.
Yeah, no, I can't do that. I'm trying to look 16, 17.
Oh, so you're like...
18. In my head I said 18 and my mouth said 16. I have no idea why. John Hughes movies?
Yeah, a little Matthew McConaughey going on there.
All right. But
yeah, that just kind of reminds me a little bit of there's an interview that was recently recorded, like within the week or two.
With Matthew McConaughey?
No, with Timothy Chalamet or whatever.
Ooh,
he was like,
Timothy.
I started, he's talking about Dune. He's like, I'm playing a 15-year-old and I filmed it when I was this age, and then like that's how old I was when I filmed it, and then I was supposed to be this age when it was supposed to come out. And now I'm 25, and hopefully, like now we just got greenlit for part 2. And then like Denny looks at him and goes like, "It's okay, you still look like you're 15."
Thanks, not helpful, Denny. But if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level or any age, check out patreon.com/YoVideogamespodcast. Dude of the week is Online Persona.
Thank you, Online.
He's in for a new job.
Yeah?
He's kicking ass.
Good.
Maybe even taking names.
Oh.
And he's going to give us those names.
Is he underground prize fighter now or something?
Sort of hope so. He's Baki. He'll like that.
That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I support your Patreon with my winnings after I beat someone's ass.
And finally, we can feel like billionaires because our money will be blood money.
God.
I'm kidding.
Which is why we have Yakuza in the background today.
Yeah, that and
because there's always a background or
rotating jank background,
underground fight tournament thing going on in those games.
I kind of want to call this the broom closet. Everybody's got like the stream room, or they have some fucking name. There's some asshole out there with like, I'm Chad and this is the bunker. But this is the broom closet. Welcome to the broom closet. I am actually fixing the blinds soon with the help of our sponsor, Manscaped. As you can see, we have the ball trimmers out and the crop reviver, crop preserver.
That's right.
And I don't. I like to tell a story. I don't want to just be like, buy this product. So I have been using the crop reviver fairly regularly. Until recently, I used it. I walked out of my bedroom and my dog just his whole face into my ball, and it didn't matter how I tried to move.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, he just like buried his fucking the whole thing. It looked like I was cheating on my wife. And so now I don't use it until I go to the gym. I don't use it because your balls get so fresh. The dog wants it.
Smells so sweet. Yeah.
You don't even need peanut butter anymore, guys.
That's right.
You just pop that shit on, and you too can have fresh, dog-loving balls from Manscaped using our code 20% off. YoVG at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping worldwide. And it's right in time for the holidays.
And we've got a variety of products. The Reviver, which is the spray-on.
Yeah, that's the spray.
Then there's a lotion for after shower, which does the same thing. You've got, the thing to make your forest look well trimmed and groomed. You don't want to be like a California forest, which overgrows and then dies and then catches on fire.
Because nobody's raking it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You just got to rake the whole forest.
You got to rake the leaves off your forest.
Fine, guys.
Go to manscaped.com. How funny is that? That joke is so dated now, and it's only been like 3 years?
The thing is time has no meaning to me anymore.
Yeah.
Things are so bad, and this leads into our episode because it's the month of Thanksgiving, but things are so weirdly bad all over all the time now, and I don't think it's actually that bad. I think it's probably just the way we operate now. Social media only gives you the bad shit, but there's just time has no meaning. It's just everything seems fucking awful all the time. It's always a Monday. Always.
Everything is the intro to the fifth season of
Anything.
of Samurai Jack, where it's like 50 years have passed, time has lost its meaning. Like,
I mean, like yesterday, it was just like a bunch of people went to a concert and died. They got crushed to death. 8 people died in Houston.
that was nutty. I heard about,
Yeah.
and like they couldn't even get to the people or whatever. I'm just like, I don't
because the people at the back, it was so big that the people at the back started like raging against the machine and fighting EMS and the cops and shit on their way in. Is the thing I read.
This is where we are.
So they couldn't get to the front of the stage where people are, and I can just imagine them being like, no, people are dying. They're like, yeah, fuck the man. People should die. And you're like, what? It's like, I don't know. When you get that worked up, I don't really know that anything's good's gonna come of it, right? Like people are getting crushed at the front. The people at the back are just having such a good time crushing the people at the front. They're not gonna let anybody go help the people.
And the thing is like I love being in I used to love being in a crowd of people having a good time, and maybe one day I'll get back to that point.
But now there's definitely a weird vibe to being in crowds. I do.
Well, yeah, and then there's just here's the thing. Every stupid rule you've ever encountered in your life kind of has a story usually has a story behind it. Probably, actually, I will say every stupid rule does have a story behind it.
Why do you need a sign saying "Don't swim near a jetty"?
Yeah,
well,
because someone did, and there's, and this is only gonna hurt big, massive concerts. I feel.
Yeah, and I mean, like people were giving shit to the artist. I think it was like Travis Scott.
Yeah,
because he didn't release a statement fast enough, and it's like, God, who the fuck cares about his statement? Like, it's not like he's gonna release a statement and be like, "Damn, that was bomb. Everybody died."
If one thing I'm gonna be honest, like that does kind of annoy me is like.
Well, also like
I hate it when like some things are like that. Like, why didn't you say anything quicker? Or, like someone...
Yeah, you don't have a turnaround anymore. You got to just get it done. Yeah.
Yeah, just...
Your social media person.
Because I try to put yourself in the position, and I don't know. I have no idea who this guy is. I have know nothing about him. I'm an old
We're old
boomer.
now. Yeah, no, it sucks.
But like, could you
I'm
imagine...
fresh-faced and young, 16.
Could you imagine being, a singer or whatever... And then this shit happens. You probably don't even know about it because of like the size of the crowd and the chaos going on. You probably don't know. And then you get back after the show and someone tells you like we just had 8 people die. One of them was a kid. A couple were underage. I mean, like you might be just shell shocked. Like,
I didn't know kids died.
Yeah, like the one was 14, one was 16. Like, this is some heavy shit.
A kid as young as me.
So I mean, yeah, like. I would be in shell shock. I mean, I'd probably making a Twitter statement wouldn't be on my mind. The first thing that would be on my mind would be like, how did this happen? I'd be like, I want all the like, to me, I'd be like, I want to go into lockdown mode and have details like what was going on with security, what was going on with event organizers. Like, to me, it would be like I'd be in sort of like. I need to be in investigation mode.
Pushing him to make a statement makes it seem like he's responsible for what happened at the event, and it's like, well, he didn't fucking plan the event.
Yeah,
like he was booked for the event. It's not like he picked the Astrodome.
Right, and that's the thing too. Is it's like that's why I would
weird.
In that situation I'd be like, okay, what happened here? Like whatever. So, that's this is very out of our wheelhouse.
Yeah, no, we're
don't
super off topic. I fucked up.
Because we don't really talk about musical... I mean, I would love to talk about music events, but they'd be like so off-brand or like so 100% away from what we're talking about here. I mean, I went to Japan to go to music concerts.
Yeah,
but they're fucking gaming music. So...
which I don't dig on concerts that much anyway.
Yeah, and the thing was, I went to 2 very, very different concerts for the same fucking game. Where one was sitting down in a concert hall listening to the Tokyo Philharmonic. And then the other one was a stand-up only concert where,
Really?
It was all about being lively and shit.
But they were the same game music?
Yeah. Well, so...
you just liked it that much? Like, legit, you just liked it that much that you wanted to go see it twice?
It's not the same concert.
Oh.
They're completely different compositions because one was written for the Tokyo Philharmonic and then one was written by the original composer who wrote it for... I want to say 10 or 12 person band who was like, you had 2 violinists, a drummer, you had like someone who did like other percussions, one who did like all kinds of different giant flutes, kind of like that flute guy for Ghost of Tsushima, if you remember
Wow,
that E3.
yeah.
So it was very eclectic. It sounded almost like Super Ren Fairy, I would almost say, but like more high quality. So it was a stand-up concert, and it was interactive, and
That's interesting.
you had like these, not glow sticks, but like these like things you turn on, like flashlight things.
I don't think I didn't realize that was the reason you went to Tokyo. I thought you went to Tokyo and that happened to be a thing that you went and did. I didn't know that was like the whole reason.
That was the reason, because I was like, I was not. Funny thing was, I was like, I'm not going to go to Tokyo till at least 2020. 2020 was like kind of like my plan.
Oh wow!
Wow,
Yeah, that would have been awkward,
right? And then there was word that there was going to be a Ghibli theme park, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll just hold off till 2022.
Now's our time.
Yeah, and then this concert came up, and I was like, wow, I'd really love to go see that. And then I was like, it was a lottery system to get in. A lot of Japanese things as lottery systems.
I guess because there's, such an insane amount of fans and stuff. You're gonna.
And it's because like anything in Tokyo, like everyone lives in Japan. Like, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like a lot of people live in Kyoto and Osaka and whatever. But I mean, like everyone lives in Tokyo. Like Tokyo is like this just big giant hub of people. It's actually just a legit problem there.
It's built as tall as New York and it's as wide as LA. It's just huge.
Right.
It's a mega city. It's
so I entered in the lottery to see if I could get tickets for this thing. And I won.
And you stole the dreams of some Tokyo City boy who just it's all he wanted.
He had opportunities. I won. There were multiple lotteries, and I won the first one. I got in on the first one and whatever. And I was paying the premium too.
I know.
So
just teasing you.
And to be frank, it's like you guys get cool shit like this all the time. Like we never get any cool shit like this in America. So like MagFest tries, but I mean, anyway. So yeah, like I won the lottery, and I'm like, well, I guess this is it. This is destiny. So
you happen to know somebody who lived there.
Right. I knew someone who lived there who was like, I'll have a place ready for you.
Does Tree speak Japanese?
I mean,
reads it.
He's learning it. I mean,
I figure he has to if he lives there. For
yeah. He's not fluent, no. But like, he obviously knows a lot more than me, and he was learning and doing classes for it there, which was funny because it was like all these people told me, don't worry, everyone speaks English natively, like everyone speaks English like a second language there. Nobody speaks English there.
Who told you that?
My banker and ramen shop guy.
Really? I mean, because everywhere I've been, English, not everywhere, but English is, you can find it in touristy spots stuff, but almost everywhere I've been, the one thing that gets mentioned is like no one in Japan. Like nothing is accommodating to tourists in Japan.
Right. And some people were like, so they were kind of trying to, because the Olympics were supposed to be in 2020. So a shit ton of signage, like in the couple years leading up to 2020, they were putting English like underneath everything.
Yeah, like exit and
tons of English signage was like being put up all over Tokyo for the Olympics. That didn't happen.
Well, I mean, it did eventually.
I mean, it did happen, but nobody could go, so it didn't even fucking matter.
It just bankrupted the city, probably.
Probably.
Cost a load of money to run the Olympics. It's ridiculous.
Which is exactly what happens everywhere that goes. So really, nothing.
Yeah, this is why I constantly argue that I don't want the Olympics to come to LA. Everybody's always like, it's prestigious.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's
maybe it is. Who cares? We don't need any fucking gold medals.
Yeah.
Maybe it would mean that they would finally clean up some of LA. Like, there's a few spots in LA that are like really nice, really pretty, but so much of it is run down now because they haven't done shit for years. Most of the roads are fucked. They're finally doing stuff with the public transit.
So there was signage in English there. Nobody spoke English though. No one.
Yeah, a good friend of mine in high school went to, her cousin lived in Japan, and she went to visit, and she was like, oh yeah, no one's, and like you might run into a couple people here and there at hotels and stuff. That's
nobody
English.
at my hotel spoke English.
Yeah, she was like maybe a couple, but like as soon as especially if you leave Tokyo at all, like no one speaks English. And that was like 2006, 7 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
So a while ago, but
So and I've watched some videos on it. Some people in Japan basically say like the reason that is because their way of teaching English is super ass backwards. Like
Really?
they teach English very, very poorly. Like this is not the way you would teach someone to speak English. If you
I thought they hired because I thought a lot of like American.
That's why they do it, because they're public. Because like in Japan, I think in high school you have to take like a year or two of English.
Really?
Like it's like it's part of standard curriculum, I guess, for like teenagers. And
The same way that Spanish is in Southern California.
bingo.
Yeah.
And apparently the way they teach it is super poor, like super wrong.
Well, I know that Japanese education is very much based on memorization of facts.
Yeah. And the thing is that apparently like people have pointed this out and tried to like, do it, but guess what? They don't want to change their curriculum.
Well, yeah. That's fair.
It's like, hey, this you really should be doing these things this way. I thank you for your advice. I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to do a thing differently.
Oh, yeah. Fuck that guy.
And people like Japanese people who have actually learned like English, proper English, are actually, they get really angry and frustrated when looking back and they realize how the standardized way of teaching English is like, this is so wrong. Like, these people could there are easier, better, faster, like correct ways of learning English that they could be teaching, and like people would be way more proficient. But then again, it's, you get some tourists there, but it's unless you're going into like a global business, I don't know.
And it's a standalone economy.
Yeah,
very much.
That's kind of what I mean. Is
yeah.
like unless you're going into like a big global company or whatever, you probably don't really need to learn English if you're gonna stay and live in Japan, which most of them do. So,
and realistically, a lot of the things we love about Japan is purely because they are so standalone. They're not quite isolationist anymore, but like they are
for the traveling person right now.
Someday soon,
Which we're calling back here. Harada. He has his talk show, Harada's Bar.
Yeah.
Someone brought up Max on the show, and he's talked about it. Like, he said, like, oh, yeah, Max. And, he gave his little, breakdown of Max's channel and videos or whatever. And he was just like, yeah, like, he's like, I'd have Max on my show, I guess. I guess he said something to that effect.
So we're all going together. Max will be on the show, and I'll be somewhere around behind the camera, maybe.
Yeah,
We'll
I'm totally gonna be like Samwise at the end of Fellowship of the Ring. Max would be like, "Go back, sir. I'm going to Japan alone. Of course you are, and I'm coming with you."
If you're Samwise, who am I?
You're Merry or Pippin for sure. Probably Merry.
Nice. I was gonna say Golem because I'm bald, but it's fine. Yeah, I would have taken it, I guess. I'm yoked Golem. Getting towards our topic, back on positive stuff. It's the month of Thanksgiving, and we kind of want to start we want all of November, if possible, to be mostly positive shit, because things are so weird and bad all the time now. So if we can do like just a couple episodes where we're talking about the things we are most thankful for, and we'll start it off. The Dragon Quest guy died. Really, just
yeah, that was good. It was good for me. I mean, he died in September, and then like people didn't realize it till later. The best part was how he died from septic shock.
Oh, is that really how he died?
And then
Wow.
like I didn't like it was all coming out, and then like one of my mods, like I think he listened to the podcast. Al was just like, wow, his toxicity finally got to him.
Anyway, we're not gonna.
I was
do
like,
that.
that's amazing.
We're not really gonna do that as a topic. No, actually, what I am actually thankful for is it seems like co-op horde shooters, are sort of coming back. You have the Alien Fire Team.
Yeah.
You have Back for Blood. I finally played Back for Blood, and I'm digging it. It's everything that I wanted from Left 4 Dead. They put in the customization, although it's not like I wish there was more aesthetic customization. There's only like a few things, and it's sort of a pain.
Yeah,
in the
that's
ass.
kind of what I've heard. Is just sort of like,
There's not a ton. It could be more.
and that's a little bit of a that's a little bit of a problem with Aliens.
Yeah, Aliens. Once you beat it, you're kind of
It's
like
very much both those games
Yeah.
are kind of coming in. I guess you could say they're coming in hot, or they're just
Well, Left 4 Dead has replayability because or not Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood has replayability because of the card system where like
Yeah.
every time you play it, like the people I was playing with, we died on a mission and like we were like, okay, well we know what we're gonna do this time, and then they switched shit up on us, and it was mostly the same, but like the little elements that they changed actually fucked up our entire plan somehow. So it was like there's replayability there, the same way that Left 4 Dead had replayability.
yeah. And the cards are neat because there's stat modifiers that are both positive and
Negative, yeah.
negative, where it's like, I mean, you get a greater reward though. Like if you get like a negative thing where it's like, oh, we're gonna double the spawn rate, or we're gonna we're gonna like chunk up armor.
The boss
or
is
whatever.
harder.
Yeah, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it's kind of cool in a way where it's like, yeah, but you'll get these great rewards for it. So can make for some fun, intense stuff. The one thing I did sort of notice, because I was playing on normal, and it was pretty easy, and then people were like, yeah, the big problem is just sort of like normal is like too easy.
And then you make a huge jump.
Yeah, and then going from normal, and then there's like two difficulties, but there's like hard and extreme or whatever it is. And like the jump to hard is huge.
Yeah, I've heard. I wanted to play on hard because I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
I was like, let's just start on hard, and Dan, our friend Dan, was just like, no, we did that, and it's like it's way too hard. Like if you don't know the mechanics of the game, like you got to learn. So I figure once I beat Act 1, I'll be acclimated enough, and then I'm just gonna go for it.
Okay.
I'm just gonna try and like
Yeah,
do
so
it in
and
hard.
same deal where I think Steve said the same thing, or someone else, where it was just kind of like, and I think Max was like, oh, just start on hard, and someone's like, no, don't, like, you do not try to learn the game like on because like the hard is like really hard.
Because we all know that Max loves to boss rage. He'll play it on like the hardest difficulty and do the
Yeah, he's like it's kind of like it's kind of been one of it, something he's in his thing. He's been kind of enjoying doing it. And I'm kind of really not like that.
I'll do it. I'll do it for shits and giggles. If somebody wants to do it, I'll do it.
I just want to enjoy the game.
I just hate quitting.
Sure.
I'll just get more and more mad until I beat it.
And like I don't mind difficulty, but it's like for me it's gotta. I do not want to have downtime between dying and restarting. Like Super Meat Boy. I keep going back to that where it's like it's considered a challenging game. I loved it.
Because you die and it's immediately reloaded.
Like, okay, whatever. Like immediately, like you immediately are back in the fray. So it's like, yeah, I don't mind that, but I also like I like the mechanics of Super Meat Boy. Like I like the way it controls. So it's like for me, it's a big difference where it's like if a game's hard but it's fun to play, like fun to control, like it's
if it makes
thing.
sense,
right?
If it's ability focused.
I don't like games that are hard to like they're hard difficulty wise and they're hard to control. I don't like fucking wrestling a bear,
So you know how you make Back 4 Blood just a little bit harder as an in between of normal and hard? Just play with one bot. The bots are so useless. You'll be in a fight and they'll strafe in front of you and just get shot in the back of the head like 90 times. They'll just stop and wait at areas. They'll activate hordes on just fucking randomly. They don't kneel. They never put suppressors or equipment on their guns. So it's just like everyone's loaded out with suppressors. It's the blackout thing, and you've got flashlights and stuff. And you got to be quiet, and there's screechers and shit.
Right.
So you're avoiding everything. And the bot comes in and shoots the screecher first, and then just unloads with like an auto shotty at full volume, and it's just horde. And it's just, so every horde you can get if you're playing with a bot, you will get that goddamn horde.
My God, this reminds me of my last stream on Monday. Or I know it was Tuesday actually, where I was playing Xenoblade X, and I was kind of reminded about how the AI did not get better until 2. because that's MMO style, right? So I'm trying to go through this very particular dungeon, it's a story critical path thing, right?
Yeah.
And they set up this thing where it's like you have to go through basically these hallways, these very meticulously planned hallways, where we have these guards posted, at basically they basically checkpoints, right?
Yeah.
Well, I would go and I'm like, okay, we're gonna go in, we're gonna fight these two, and then we're gonna fight these three, and then we're gonna fight these three, and we're gonna fight these three. I go in like the first two guys like standing post at the entrance. I'm fighting them, and in the middle of the goddamn fight,
Your bot goes
in to the building and then pulls aggro for 3 more people. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
we were doing this mission where there was just like a ton of cars that had alarms, and like the bot would go stand on the alarmed car. And then, like, it'd blow up, and he'd get all fucked up, and then he'd go stand on another alarmed car, and it'd blow up, and he'd get fucked up, and you're just like, what are you doing? It's just like, if we ran past a bathtub, he's the dude that jumps in and starts farting and having a great time. Like, you're just such an asshole.
God, oh, man.
So that's how you up the
I don't
difficulty
know why,
a little bit.
That description reminded me of Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Farting in bathtubs.
Well, there's just this weird scene where they go to basically an abandoned-ass town.
Oh, yeah, and
in
he's
the
got
middle of it, and the guy just decides to take a fucking bath.
I mean, have you smelled... Now, we're all about fresh balls.
About fresh balls. That guy wanted fresh balls in the Old West.
Old West mid-Civil War battle fresh balls? 3 days on a horse balls? Yeah, I'm going to take a bath if I can get one, too.
Right, but it's like he comes to an abandoned base. Like, the whole town's like abandoned for whatever reason.
Well, it's because there's a battle going on, so it's all fucked up. Yeah.
It's all fucked up, and he's just like, fuck it, I'm going to take a bath. And he's taking a bath, and some guy tries to come in and get revenge on him, but, keeps his gun cocked and loaded at all times.
Under the bubbles.
I mean, it's a fucking fantastic scene because it has like this great thing where the guy comes in and does this stupid villain's monologue, and he's just looking at her.
If you're gonna shoot, don't talk. Yeah,
it's
really good. So what do you have? What are you thankful for? Like nothing. You're like, fuck it.
Here's the cool thing. Okay, it's a little bit of a column A, but I was able to snag one of those N64 controllers for the Switch.
Oh, really?
And they're fantastic. They feel
Are they
great.
They're wireless.
They're wireless, and they have USB-C connection. It came with another USB-C cable, and I'm like, excellent.
So the question I had about it, and I haven't seen a ton on it, so maybe it's obvious, but is it a full-size N64, or is it slightly shrunk?
No, it's full size.
I was sort of worried they would shrink it.
It's a little heavier on the middle section
because it's got a battery in it.
All the guts are where the rumble pack would go.
Ah.
So like it's all like, it looks like it's been sealed off with plastic. It's not like empty. But that's where all the guts are for the Wi-Fi, not the wireless signal and whatever.
Yeah, so it's got like Bluetooth and all that.
So it kind of feels like if you have like a rumble pack or maybe like a transfer pack, like it's got like an extra little weight like on the middle top part of it than a regular controller. Not a ton, but just enough to like notice. Is the
stick better? It's an improved stick?
It feels the same.
That's weird.
It isn't actually 100% the same.
Well, because I imagine it's almost harder to make the shitty
because people have
analogs.
broken it down, to see like, but it feels the same. Let me put it that way. It absolutely feels the same. It's not like a GameCube stick like in the middle there or something. No, it actually is like a tiny little like on a ball pivot.
That's weird. I almost.
But man, it is nostalgic feeling to like hold it and play games with it and just be like, oh my god, yeah.
I wonder, like, my hands are much bigger now, obviously, because it turns out I'm an adult. But I wonder if it would be uncomfortable to play with it, because now that I go back to GameCube controllers feel really uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah, they're not like, I mean, I shouldn't say really uncomfortable, but like, they're definitely, like, the grips are just too small. I still like the triggers a lot on GameCube controllers.
Yeah.
But like the sticks and like the C stick feels weird now.
Yeah. Well, when you're playing an N64 game and the emulation's fucking ass for like Ocarina of Time.
I've heard
in particular for some reason Mario's a little off. Like Mario 64 a little off. Ocarina of Time complete ass.
I've heard that if you just ran a straight up emulation, it'd be great, but they must have done something.
The other games actually are not bad. That's the weird part.
Is it lag or is it?
So for Mario and Ocarina, 100% lag on top of many, many problems.
Well, they also
like
ran at like 12
visual
frames a
audio.
second at
Yes.
points and shit.
Well, they
too,
still
so-
run at the same frame rate as the N64 games originally did, but like there are visual bugs, there are audio bugs, like which is just weird because like Star Fox 64 runs pretty well, like for the most part. Sin and Punishment, which is a much more taxing game, runs fine on the emulator. Mario Tennis ran fine. Mario Kart 64 pretty much ran fine, but like Mario 64 and Ocarina, the headline games run like shit. Well, definitely more Ocarina than Mario. Mario's versus it's like a little like slight. You have to be very attuned to like notice. I think
Well, that
layman's were
Mario's
not-
kind of it's a simpler game.
yeah. Well, and here's the other thing too is they had that Mario collection that came out a year ago. You know, before they Disney vaulted it.
Yeah.
And they updated it to recognize the N64 controller for Mario 64.
Really?
So that's actually really cool, because that's a better emulated version than the one they're offering on the Switch Online. So that's nice.
Why isn't it just the same? Why isn't it just the same version?
That's a great question, because I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I think the N64 Online for Switch Online, it is like an emulation core and a ROM dump. Like they did a little bit of high res touching up on the All-Star collection.
Yeah.
But like everything on these are straight fucking ROM dumps.
Wow.
Like there is
So the same thing they'd sue you for using, but
yes, 100%. It's a little rough, but damn, that controller's great, and it is USB-C, which means it'll definitely be making its rounds through the emulation scene.
so what other? Well, yeah, I mean it's gonna be popular. They'll probably make more money on that than they did on the emulator.
They sold out. They sold out the day of. They had
shit.
they had a refresh day this week, and then that sold out immediately.
Does it come in the original colors like gray, blue, and
It's
red?
just gray
Oh well.
right now, and they actually said they're out of stock until next year. So if you didn't get an N64 controller on,
Chip shortage.
and they only sell it on Nintendo Store, so you have to have a Nintendo's online account.
So there's no physical locations that'll be selling it.
Correct.
Damn.
And no other online retailers. You have to buy it from Nintendo.com with a Nintendo account, and they do limit it, but it's like 4. It's like 4 per account.
Wow. Well, I wonder if there's going to be new games that will use the old controller.
That is a great question. I'm gonna say no.
It'd be fun.
But it'd be fun. It would be fun. I would actually be super, super dang down.
And I mean, just Mario Party, like a new Mario Party
Oh my god.
using the old N64 controller. I mean, you got extra buttons. I don't need. So you have Z, you have the D-pad, you have left trigger, and you have right trigger, and then you have your A and B. Right? There's no XY on.
No, but there are 4 C buttons.
Yeah, so you got 4 C buttons. That's a lot of buttons.
Yeah. And then they added a button on the top. So there's a tiny little ZR button on the top, which is like you basically press that to like load or save a save state on it.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's also a home button and a share button as well on the top.
It's just too many goddamn buttons. But
These are like tiny little buttons to just like because I thought when they first announced it, I was like, oh god, there's no home button. Like you're stuck in the Nintendo Switch. Like if you're playing with the N64 controller, you can't leave the game. You can't get back to dashboard. No, but there's like a tiny home button on the very top. So it's very like it's super tiny and out of the way. Like you have to like reach up, and I was like, it's not meant for normal gameplay.
I mean, it's sort of it leads into the next thing that I'm thankful for is like I would love a Mario Party N64 controller. Like I like the nostalgia of the original Mario Parties, which I don't know if is that part of the emulator.
No, because they just had Mario Party Superstars come out.
Oh, and they don't want to like undercut that. And
yeah,
shit.
because that's all N64 boards on that game.
I'm sort of I'm thankful for, and I'm like super excited about the fact that like more and more party-esque games like that seem to be coming back.
Yeah, and I think Among Us had a big hand in that, and things like that. Where
there's First Class Trouble.
Yeah,
that's on the PS5. I haven't played it yet, but
it's a free download game for the
month.
So.
I'm planning to play it this week sometime. But everything I've seen on it just looks like dumb fun, and I want more dumb fun games. I want more games. Like I don't need AAA over the top for every game. Like I want more dumb fun with your friend. Well, I guess I kind of miss Xbox Live Arcade, where you
Yeah.
had those dumb games that you could just
and
grab.
here's the thing, like I did a full night where I was playing online multiplayer with the N64.
Oh yeah.
And I was playing with a couple, basically like a group of people, kind of all over the country, and there was 3 of us. We were all on wired connections, and it was actually running fine.
Really?
We had a 4th guy jump in who was
Wired connection,
who was Wi-Fi, and he was in New Jersey or Pennsylvania or something like that, and it went to shit, and it was just kind of like, okay, obviously, like he's cross country and on Wi-Fi, this is a problem, but like there were other people cross country wired, and it was running fine. So if you have a good internet connection, you have stable internet, and you're not on fucking Wi-Fi, the online actually works. We were playing dumb shit, like we were playing this game called Winback for the N64.
Winback.
Yeah, so it was like this. It was this basically Metal Gear clone that like Koei like shat out real quick for the N64.
But multiple people could play it?
It had a 4-player. I didn't even know it had a 4-player mode. So we were playing it. It's
like
this
that.
third-person shooter. It's this janky old N64 third-person shooter, and we're just rolling around and just shooting people. And
Yes.
I'm like, we were having a good time. Like it was nothing fancy or nothing, but like it was. Wow, this is actually, I'm having a blast, just like jankily running around these like 10 polygon characters,
Think of how much fun we used to have with like Spec Ops: The Line, and that
Yes.
game was like,
Oh yeah, I was totally getting those vibes.
yeah. I mean, Spec Ops: The Line was like the most okay game until you played with friends, and then you're like, this game's great, and then
Yeah.
you like show it to somebody the first time, and they're playing single player, and they're like, this game sucks, and you're like, yeah, but you gotta play it with friends.
Yeah.
Every time you get a
Exactly.
game where like the single player's like, meh, RE5. Where like people are like, I don't know, that game's like just okay, and you're like, no, you got to play co-op.
I mean, it's always pretty because RE5 is a pretty
RE5's
game.
a really pretty game, yeah.
Like regardless, but and the gameplay's still the foundation of 4, so it's still pretty decent gameplay. But my God, AI bots once again. Whether you're Chris or Sheva, the other one will always
Sheva.
The other character will always fucking drain your ammo, always fucking use your health when you don't want them to. So
Yeah.
it's a fantastic. Like I think Max to this day said, I've never played RE5 single player. He has never actually played through it.
I did
like,
one
solo.
time. I beat RE5.
I think I beat like the first couple chapters or something, and I was like, this sucks.
RE4 on GameCube, I beat 14 times.
Yeah.
I mean, just like too many goddamn times. RE5, I must have played. I must have beaten it like 20 or so times because I played it several times with my brother. I played it several times with DJ. I think me and you may have done one time. Like I've just gone through it so many times. And then now that it's on PC, I think I own it on Steam, and I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone recently. They were like, let's run through RE5. And it's just a great time. It's a great time as a co-op game. If you're playing it single player, you're not. I can see it being not good. I can see it being like one of the worst RE4, not RE4s, one of the worst post RE4 games because you're playing solo and you don't get any of the best parts of it.
Yeah. And the pacing doesn't hold up anywhere near as well as 4, and I think the pacing I think that's actually another thing that is affected by co-op. I think pacing can get affected by you're so distracted. Yeah.
When you're playing with friends, and like also things just like fights happen faster when you have your friend, that you sort of don't notice that RE5's pacing is fucking weird.
I think that's true for pretty much most video games too, honestly. Like if you have co-op going through it, you can get away with a lot more.
I think I just love co-op games.
Yeah, well, who doesn't? Like, and here's the thing. You know what game was the epiphany for me? Was fucking Rainbow Six on the N64.
Really? That
was the epiphany for me because, I mean, I didn't even care. I just rented it because it was back in the day where, like, I could ride my bike to a Blockbuster and I could rent games easily. God damn, I'm so fucking old.
People are going to comment, what is Blockbuster?
So, like,
what's bikes?
we heard in the magazines that we would read in the market that, like, yay, Rainbow Six. I'm like, oh, this is some PC shit or whatever. And they're like, it got like pretty decent reviews on the N64. The PlayStation 1 didn't for some reason. And then I was like, because they said, "Oh, the N64 has co-op." It was one player only on PlayStation 1. And I was like, "Oh, well, fuck it, I'll rent it." And I rented a lot of N64 games over time.
Yeah,
So I
same.
rented it, and then
Well, they were so fucking expensive.
yeah. So I rented Rainbow Six on the N64, and I was playing it with my friend, down the street in his garage, in our basically gamer garage, and fuck, I had this realization: co-op's amazing because like I was kind of iffy. Like I was like, multiplayer's fun, but I really like just being able to just sit and like veg and like veg for like 8-9 hours and just like really just be sucked into a video games world. Like Banjo Kazooie kind of did that to me in Ocarina and
I miss. There was like a Christmas one year where like it was like a Christmas vacation where I had gotten a bunch of games, but one of the games I got was 13.
Yeah,
and like I had a whole day where it was just like. That's what I did. I was just in a dark room playing.
Yeah.
And, I know now, like, a lot of people look back and they're like, it was good, but it was fine. Like, it was the most okay game. And I'm saying, in my mind, I'm like, no, I really loved that game. Like, I really got drawn in. I really loved the art. I loved everything about it. And I'm pretty certain I played loads of the multiplayer on that too, just because, like, I would ride my bike down to Ian's and we'd just fuck around on that. Time Splitters, another one is like, I don't think I ever played Time Splitters alone.
And that had co-op, I think.
Yeah,
too.
I played Time Splitters. I don't know if the first one had co-op. I definitely played co-op.
Well, the first one was just like a multiplayer arena shooter, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then Time Splitters 2 was when...
Yeah, so I played 2, and we beat it on every difficulty all the way up to the insane, where if you get hit once, you're dead. Like we beat the ever-living shit out of it. It was just like whole Saturdays we would spend. We're like... you remember where like Tiny's is?
Yeah.
So I would get like a tiny sub and go and like we would just do that all day, and I would eat like lunch and dinner would be like one half of this fucking sandwich. It's like fucking I would like have whole Saturdays where that's all we would do. And like I sort of miss that kind of gaming experience. And you can get that online, but like nobody's got the time. Like I for damn sure don't have the time anymore to do that. Like I got to play for like an hour last week. An hour of games all of last week. Like that makes me feel so fucking old.
I don't know, there was just something, just something about like just realizing how much fun co-op is. Because GoldenEye was kind of on everyone's mind, and it was just kind of like, okay, like you're kind of just running around the same room, just shooting each other over and over and over.
Yeah.
But then with Rainbow Six, it was like, holy shit, this is a lot of fun, actually. Like, I actually like going through missions and stories with someone.
Especially if they, like, up the difficulty when you have a second player. Like, I can't remember off the top of my head, but, like, there were games, like, as soon as you had a co-op player, like, they would up the difficulty and shit. And it's like, there'd be either more enemies or, like, it would be, like, you'd have to do more damage to them and stuff. I think that was always, like, a really fun challenge.
And again, I probably another reason I really like Perfect Dark is they had co-op and they had counter-op as well.
I also think we had siblings, so it's like, if you're in a sibling household, co-op's like the only time you're not necessarily fighting each other. Like me and my brother were either punching each other or playing games together. There was no real in between.
Yeah, well, either way though, like to me, I play a lot of Call of Duty. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but I vastly prefer to play squads. I don't do solo.
Oh yeah, no, I can't do it.
I don't just play by myself. I have to play with some squad mates,
and like
at least then it brings a co-op element into it. So.
And there's like dumb fun, like the dumbest, funniest things that happen when you're playing with like friends and shit like that.
Yeah,
I mean, I think there was like, actually, all my favorite moments in Warzone like was from just like dumb shit we did, where like everybody stands at the top of an elevator and waits for a dude, and we just all unload on him at the same time.
Yeah, wrong neighborhood moments.
Yeah, like shit like that. I don't know. I think the fact that co-op seems like and party games are coming back is just sort of what I want, like what I really wanted from Switch. Yes, it's portable and stuff, but I wanted more couch co-op. Yeah. Because I love co-op online, but I also kind of want that one step further where it's like couch co-op where, we would do it with single player games too, but I used to go over to our buddy Justin's house and like we'd just spend a whole day going through Dead Space or something. Like whatever game one of us hadn't done yet, like we'd just go through and hang out and play this
Yeah.
game. And like you don't get a lot of experiences that way anymore, which is actually why I think streaming is as popular as it is.
Oh, for sure.
It's a simulation of that.
And that's kind of an interesting thing you bring up, because like it doesn't seem like Sony or Microsoft really care or chase couch co-op or couch play very much. Like Switch is like the only major first party, not third party, but first party that really seems to really emphasize and still really
Seems like it's going for it, yeah.
because they're still making Mario parties and Smash Brothers and all this other stuff. Where like Sony's very much like, we make the Oscars of video games. We have the most amazing walking simulations with real-time combat. You'll love it.
Well, I think that there's
and Microsoft's very much just like, subscribe to our service now, and like, and never ever forget you had it, so we can just gouge your credit card until you delete it.
this is Game Pass, which by the way has the worst UI of any.
Oh, really?
Goddamn Game Pass, like the Xbox companion, it's such a bad UI. But I think this goes back to like the three I don't think Xbox and PlayStation consider themselves gaming companies as much as like
No, absolutely
creative companies.
Right.
Whereas like Nintendo has no illusions of what they are. They aren't pretending to be anything else. They're not trying to elevate the art
and
form.
they have no other giant part of their corporation that's
they make games.
selling anything else. They're like, we just make video games. That's all.
And I think they also are. They are still very much connected into the social aspect of games. I mean, they started out making playing cards,
right.
and I think there is still a connection to that, and that might be cultural. I don't know enough about Japanese culture to say that, but it does seem like Japanese, traditionalism. There might be a through line there where they're just like, we stick to our roots.
Yeah,
it evolves, but they stick to it.
Yeah, like that kind of falls through with like the toy line stuff they were doing in the 70s. That's how Miyamoto got hired to make toys.
Oh no shit!
I didn't know that. Like grabbing claws, and him and Gunpei Yokoi. They were tinkering around with like basically what are more or less just like toy social things, like stuff like that, and not like toys like action figures, like where you sell to just the one kid.
So Labo has deeper roots than we thought.
Oh, it's for sure. They were doing things like like the you squeeze the claw thing to like grab stuff, or like, They're talking about other things, and all their box art and all the stuff from the 70s or whatever. That was all about having a whole family unit involved. It wasn't just about like, you buy this one thing, here kid, this is basically a bib, for your 8-year-old, and
look, it's an indestructible iPad. Leave them alone.
Go for it.
Don't spend your money.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be there. I mean, as far as like the dabbles into taxis and love hotels, I guess maybe not so social, but that was about making the family, not really,
You know what? I just had a thought.
It.
Do you remember when all houses came with dens?
Yeah.
Like just like a room that served, it wasn't a bedroom, it served no purpose other than to be like
how do you know you're old? Do you remember like houses having a dens and that being sort of a kind of normal thing?
Yeah, I guess that's like if we're talking about this and you're young enough that like you don't know what a den is.
That's some 70s shit.
Yeah, 70s I guess is when it was, but when I was like
Shag
little
carpeting.
yeah, it was always like the really comfortable shag carpeted room and shit. Wood paneling. But when I was really, really little, every house had like a den. And I guess like, and this is in addition to having like your family room, living room, bullshit, your dining room. There was just like a smaller offshoot room that usually didn't have like an actual door on it. Sometimes it would have a closet, but not always. And that was like the game
usually
room.
like a step down.
Yeah, often had like a step down. And that was like a lot of people would put like their TVs for watching movie. Like that's where the VCR would be. And
that is where I discovered video games.
that's what I was gonna say. Is like the first Nintendo I ever
in
played.
my grunkle's den.
Yeah. I think the first Nintendo or the first Sega, I can't remember which one that we ever played, was in a den.
It's a den. Yep.
And we had this old, like, you remember the TVs that you had to use dials?
Yeah.
It had 13 channels, and then you had, like, the volume. Like, we used to have this den when I was little, and, like, that TV would sit on top of this big dresser. And And my dad came home one time, and I was like maybe 1 or some of that, and he like was walking past the den, and he looked in, and apparently I had climbed all the way up the dresser with the drawers slightly out, and the dresser was leaning weird, and I was trying to turn the channel because it was on like an infomercial, and so I had climbed out of the kids' pen that I was in, because you used to just, like puppies, you used to just get left in like a playpen in the den with the TV going, and mom went and, if you had a bad mom, made margaritas and ignored you all day, or like would make you sandwiches if you had a really good mom.
Mommy needs medicine.
Mom needs a margarita. Your shag carpeting smells like margarita mix and bad decisions.
God, do you remember
Tobacco, ash.
Do you remember the TV show Hey Arnold? I didn't watch
Yes.
it. It was a little after my time.
Yeah, I wanted a bedroom like that when I was a kid.
Sure,
so bad.
Did, but there was a character whose mother always drank slushies. Like, it was like the most thinly veiled margarita mom ever, where she would just have a blender and she would always be drinking. And I found out about this like when doing research later on, where basically like the mom was always really absentee, and she was always hey dear, how's the school, wherever. She's blending something, right? It was basically the creator's way of just being like, she's a fucking margarita mom.
Yeah.
And I found out from research that it was because he pitched wanting to do a sequel series for MTV, and like, I want to make it PG-13. Like, she's just going to be a fucking margarita mom.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted to get away from the blender and just be like, her mom's an alcoholic, and she's never fucking there for that kind of thing. So.
I think something like, we definitely grew up in the generation, like, there's the elevator, or not the elevator, the helicopter parent, right?
Yeah.
And so like a lot of jokes get made about millennials like having helicopter parents that were really involved in your life.
Oh yeah, like the moms who always wanted to be your best friend, and I didn't have that mom, but like,
I didn't either.
I saw it. I saw it,
but
plenty.
you did see it. But I think we're also maybe the last generation that had the same boomer experience, or like the Gen X experience, where like everyone knew a kid in the neighborhood, because I don't really hear about kids playing with a ton of kids in their neighborhood that much anymore.
No,
that used to be like the normal shit, and now it's not quite. Maybe because video games advanced.
It was very.
It's our fault.
You know, it was weird though, because like the first neighborhood I lived in, I didn't meet anyone until like fucking like a year before I moved, and they were on a street below me or something like.
I lived in a giant apartment complex,
and then I
up.
moved. Even though it was to a smaller house, but it was like this street full of fucking families, and everyone hung out.
Yeah.
So it was like every neighbor knew everyone pretty well. Like it was interesting, because like no one fucking talks to each other now in any neighborhood.
Well, yeah, part of it is that like, and this is getting way off topic, but like housing is an investment now.
Absolutely.
Whereas like when we were kids, housing was an investment, like it was just like, it was, you moved to a neighborhood so that your kids had kids around. And when your kids grew up and left, you were supposed to like downsize to some other community, and that's where like the senior communities came from. But I was actually at my in-laws, and they were talking about how like when my wife was a kid, there was like neighbors that had kids and stuff, and now there's like no families and stuff. It's just all old people in the neighborhood, and all the houses that when they were kids were like, a couple $100,000 are now like $1 million homes, $1.5 million homes.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, because all of your generation is holding on to housing and making your entire retirement plan based on the house you're going to sell to downsize. And so no families can afford to buy a house. Like, where the fuck? We're all living in apartments. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? When I lived in LA, the whole neighborhood that was like across the street from a school, like all the nice housing in the neighborhood, no kids lived there.
Yeah.
It was all in the cheaper neighborhood. And so you'd have like whole streets that would be like, people would park their cars. There was this one offshoot of 8th Street where they would like, someone would just park their car at a certain time to block the street, basically, so that kids could play in the street for a little bit and then would move their car. And like, yeah, that's funny as hell, but at the same time it's like, oh yeah, because there are no fucking kids in neighborhoods anymore. Like suburbs, there's very few kids anymore, because everyone's just holding on to their shit.
And I kind of noticed like when I was teaching, that we were in like, there was one year I remember where they're like, this is how many incoming kindergartners we have, and someone was like, what, that small? And they're like, it's a dying neighborhood.
Yeah.
They're like, people are either staying in the house, like not moving out, And this is because like over the years, like, you know, I went through like all kinds of, you know, economic up and downs.
Yeah.
All, you know, because I started before the recession and like worked through the recession kind of thing. So, but anyways, it was like this thing where like people weren't moving in to what was supposed to be a family raising neighborhood. They were doing one of two things, which was they were just staying put.
Yeah.
In waiting to sell their house for more. Or they'd move out, and it wasn't families moving in necessarily.
Well, I mean,
You know,
sort of
because houses were being flipped. There's basically being investments. They're
when I
being
think
traded
of
around like stocks.
something, you know, the houses that where my grandparents lived before they downsized after retirement. When they retired to like Las Vegas and shit because that's where all the cheap houses were.
Yeah.
You could buy some small and then like they'd play cards on the weekend, that kind of bullshit. If they would have just held on to their houses, like my family would be actually rich. Like, like we would no longer be middle class. Like they could have just held on to that house. And at the time, it was like a totally average house in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, but now because California's fucking insane, it's like you have a front yard.
Oh, wait, what?
You know, like, they had like a side yard that they had like made like a garden, and now it's like the idea of having a side yard, like. Can you think of a house like I've never seen another house? Basically, after the 70s, they stopped building houses that had side yards, and like my grandparents had lived there since it was a dirt lot.
The old, like you might notice on older houses, they didn't used to put the garage in the front, the garage was in the back, and you drive along the side of your house. You drive a long
And
driveway,
go around, yeah,
and go around into the back, and that's where like the garage would be. It's somewhere in the back or detached from the main house. Now the garage is part of the house, and there's very little, if anything, of a front yard. There's no side, period, whatsoever.
Well, because no one plays in the fucking front yard. No one does anything with the front. It's just grass that you have to feed, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, fuck front yard. Give me more backyard.
Yeah.
Give me more space that I can do something with. Now you don't get either in California.
Yeah, you don't get either now.
I think the new houses in the area that we live are now like, it's in between the houses. It's only a side yard. There is no backyard or front yard. Your backyard is literally your driveway. So now the houses are like you pull in and like park in your garage, and then you have a side yard, and the side yard is just the space between the two houses. That's the new modern thing to do. And the idea is that you don't have like shitloads of grass you got to water or anything like that, and you know it's very much attached to the California drought and all that shit.
And
but
I'm not lamenting the fact that every house should have like, you know, like grass fields, you know, in front of it or whatever. It's fine.
no, but I mean
it's
there
more
should
just
be space for kids to fucking play.
Well, there should be if you're raising a family, yeah. But I also I'm just kind of, for me, I'm more just like aware of how housing is.
Look, man, I want
very
dens
different.
where we can play video games. and shit,
Dens need to make a comeback.
where I can kick open the door and say, "Are you winning, son?"
I
need a backyard.
You know, it's a strange thing. If you live in other parts of the country, you might not know this. There are no basements in LA. Houses,
there's a few houses where they purposely
houses
built them, but
don't have basements.
yeah, it's not a thing here.
It is not a thing.
Because there's almost no time of year here where you can't go outside.
Right. So
in Southern California.
But I always thought it'd be dope to have like a fucking basement, like a gamer basement.
Yeah.
You know, and you see it on some of like, you know, the whatever, like travel or home gardening shit my mom watches, you know, when I visit my parents, and I'm like, you know, that'd be kind of dope if you had like a big fucking pool room, you know, downstairs or whatever.
Or like people that convert their basements into like little sports bars for their
Right.
favorite teams and shit.
That is what my grandfather did for his den. He converted it into a bar.
I mean, that's slick. I mean,
he got like a full fucking like
pool table and
not a pool table, but like
wet bar?
a wet bar. Yeah, a full fucking like, you know, it's like up to your chest height bar, and then he had like a mini fridge, and he had stools and everything. So it's like when he hosted parties or whatever, he had a bar that he could serve you from, or you know, or mix drinks from in his den.
My grandparents' house, the house that I'm talking about.
He was a bit of an alcoholic.
Well, I mean, everybody in that generation.
I'm just thinking back about it. It's like, yeah, what did he spend his time with? Did he get drunk? Well, that's true. He was. There was never a time where he didn't have a beer in his hand.
All of my grandfather's like 96 something years old, and up until a few years ago when he got remarried, like he would come home didn't matter what he did, but like after work when he was working, he'd come home, have 2 cocktails before dinner, and that's what he would do. Like he'd have a cocktail and have some dinner, and then maybe a second cocktail. That was just normal. Like my dad and mom didn't really drink it all when I was growing up, and so like I used to be like, "Why is Grandpa drinking so much goddamn tonic water?" And my dad was like, "Well, because he's mixing it with half vodka." I was like, "Tonic water is disgusting. Why is he doing that?" Because all you'd ever see him pouring was the tonic water, but it's because half that glass is vodka.
It is funny too growing up because like I just didn't think about it where it's just kind of like he always had a beer and like some family member always had a cigarette and like I didn't want that. I never desired it.
It
like,
was normalized, so I didn't.
It just that's old. That's adult old people shit that smells real bad, and it like they really like it for some stupid reason. Because I always find like you want a Pepsi, yeah. Like he kept me satiated with like keeping me like on like a sugar diet, which also terrible for my health and not knowing it.
Yeah, but they didn't know that at that time.
But it was like whatever. It was just kind of like that's
diabetes was new, man.
Yeah, it was for
real
real
hotness for their generation.
So yeah, like dens. Den is where I discovered video games,
and it's I mean, dens were great because it was almost the room that you went to explore first, because that's where the board games, the video games, the entertainment center, that's where all that shit was.
All the cool shit was in there.
You go to the den.
Which is weird to think about, because everyone puts all their like entertainment shit in their living room, or their like which is usually like the first thing you see when you walk into a house.
Yeah,
now. It's just someone's like entertainment setup.
I mean, like older houses that like most new houses now don't have living rooms anymore or formal dining rooms.
Right.
Houses used to have dens, living rooms, family rooms, formal dining rooms, and the kitchen was a separate room. Now, the reason why, and sometimes they would have like offices. The reason that this is important is, one, kitchens being their own separate room is actually removing that, making open living floor plans was a movement to try and make it so that moms could feel more connected to the family because they were in the kitchen. And it actually raised the level of divorce and broken homes because stay-at-home moms presumably didn't have anywhere to escape from the kids because nobody wanted to be in the hot kitchen, basically. They didn't have anywhere to go to be away from their shit-ass husbands kind of thing.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Getting rid of dens was linked to... something with kids. I'm blanking on it now, but basically because kids didn't have anywhere to like spend their energy into. It raised injuries in backyards. Backyard injuries went up when dens stopped being as common. And it was like because kids didn't have anywhere to spend their time. Their safe space. And see, the thing is I don't know how accurate these stats are because this is just like bullshit you read and they don't back it up. They just
that's the thing is like I grew up I had a big house that I first grew up in. Living room, family room, kitchen,
fucking formal dining room that was only used twice a year. And
I had like this massive front yard. I had a massive fucking backyard. Like
front yard is where you do neighborhood football games.
Yeah, massive fucking front yard. I had massive fucking backyard, multiple areas of the backyard. One even had like a 2-story playhouse. Like a made out of wood, like actually made, by something like a pool.
Goddamn.
And a pool like of my own and all this shit, right? And then like we super downsized to move into a nice neighborhood in a tiny house. I couldn't give it less of a shit because we had all these
kids,
parks and kids and all these recreational things where I could ride my bike. I was old enough at that point to just ride my bike around everywhere. So it was like we got rid of our quote unquote den, if you will. And I ended up just riding my bike all the fuck around the neighborhood.
So I don't really care about having bigger homes.
Yeah, and I don't even know that I necessarily got in any more or less injuries because I don't know. Like me and my brother, we play pretty fucking rough. Like it doesn't take much,
spend a lot of time.
It doesn't take much for 2 brothers to fucking bonk each other on the head.
Yeah, I hit my brother with a hockey stick during a fight one time. I think he hit me with a skateboard at one time.
I'm not sure that dens would or would not increase outdoor injuries because it really just depends. Do you have a sibling?
I think it decreased supervision. And that's probably what led to. Like when you're in the den, there's somebody around that is
pretty close proximity. Yeah. You can hear them in the house or whatever. But it's just kind of like, I don't know. Like I feel like if you had a sibling growing up, you got in a fight.
Almost definitely. Yeah. Just getting wailed on all the time.
And if you didn't, what's going on?
Yeah. So I kind of want I want to come back at dens, obviously, but I sort of want to come back of that like couch co-op, like social aspect. I don't know. Maybe is that like an old person thing again, where it's like, because also I kind of want like, I want more like high quality single player games. Yeah, everything seems to be shifting towards games as a service.
Look, I think there's actually plenty of really good quality single player games in existence.
That's fair.
That are being made. I don't think there's a shit ton of local multiplayer.
Yeah.
Local multiplayer I don't think is happening much. The indie scene is keeping the flame going for the most part.
And we love them for that.
Because a lot of people are like, well, you're just not looking at the indies. I'm like, no, like indies are keeping this shit afloat. And then Nintendo is kind of in that same boat. But when it comes to major third-party publishers, their kind of focus is sort of in the online sector. You know, the subscription, the live services, the gas.
Because they're hoping for several quarters of profit, continuing profit.
Right. They want continuous annual revenue from it.
Something can't just be a hit.
They don't want to sell you a game once on a physical product, like a physical item that you then own and can do whatever with and share it with and, you know, loan it out with. And then you one person buys it and they put it in the system. And then their friends come over from around the neighborhood and then they're playing and then no one needs to buy it. So we've only sold one game. Whereas if it was an online title, all of the friends who play it all would have to spend $60, and all of them will be tempted to buy the season pass out of fear of missing out of content we will provide at a drip feed exclusively, and then take away if they don't purchase, meaning they will be enticed to purchase it even more.
You've got to have the sexy pants for your character now.
So this is like, look, like, and I'm not saying like companies were righteous back in the day. They fucking weren't. Arcades are a scam. Like, look,
there just wasn't.
Look, I like arcades, but they're a fucking scam. They're there to fucking drain quarters out of you. They're not there because like, oh, they wanted to breed a higher tier of gamers, you know, who were like the best of the best, you know, weeded out the strong from. No, they didn't give a fucking shit.
But
they don't want you to be good at. You being good at an arcade game was counter
to what they wanted.
They wanted you to suck. They hated you if you were good. And they would go out of their way to make games fucking impossible.
And they would have certain levels in the game that would, like, you'd get to a certain point, you're doing great, and like the level was literally just a coin eat. Like it was just meant to eat coins, and then like it would get to a certain point. I remember that they had like a certain amount of math done. This is the average amount of times you'll have to continue if you want to beat this level. Yeah. And then you can continue on one quarter.
Video game companies have always been trying to scam me out of the most money, but I just now it's like now it's no longer we're trying to build up the industry. We're trying to make it a thing. We're trying because back on the NES days and even really all the way through the N64, it was we're trying to get it because video games died, and then Nintendo brought it back and they did it in a very smart way where they are like. They didn't go after like what Atari did was try to make it like, oh, it's this new technology thing for your television set you have the Atari, like where they try to be like, oh, this chic cool thing, and then it died. So Nintendo's basically was like, how do we fucking sell this? Because everyone looks at it as it's dead, failed technology.
Yeah.
So like, put it in the toy aisle, sell it to boys. So they basically went in and were like, okay. It comes with Rob the Robot. It's this cool little robot buddy, you know, action-packed. So they were smart.
I hate how accurate that voice is to the time. It's radical.
It's radical, man. So
and it got me every time. I wanted to be radical.
They were smart. They sold it as a toy. They went into the toy aisle, which also kind of held things back a little bit because it took a little while to get out of,
20 fucking years.
Yeah, 20. And Nintendo was in no rush to get out of it. In fact, they were fighting, the court system to keep it as a toys for kids object only. They still almost, you could even argue they kind of still are in some ways. But anyways,
well, the Switch very much has that vibe.
Right. So, but back when they were trying to reintroduce video games as a viable business, it was kind of that sort of like, it's like when a theme park is like kind of new. So they offer you fucking amazing deals on a season pass. The longer and more popular a theme park gets, the worse and worse and worse the deals get. And then now you have Disneyland. Now you have Genie Plus.
Where you're paying more and more for the privilege of even smelling the Disney air.
You're paying more and more
Bullshit.
for less and less. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like how video games are in a way, where it's like, before it was like, bro, we're going to put 4 controller ports on the console. Like, look, great multiplayer game. You know, everyone will think you're fun and cool if you have this
The
game.
Sega Genesis will suck your dick.
Right. So
Yeah.
the sort of the couch co-op shit was like, it was kind of like it was like a bargain they were trying to sell you. You know, like, oh, 4 people can join in on the fun, you know. All they needed was one. They were trying to just get one sale back then.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of like, we don't want you to play a multiplayer game and only have to buy 1 copy of the game. Nah, that fucking sucks. All of you fuckers need to drop 60. You know, so
Yeah, no, that's fair.
so now, because video games have exploded, because they're popular, because they make more than movies, because they are like in a 100% accepted form of mainstream entertainment, now it's like, now let's get slimy about it. Now let's give you more for less. Or let's charge
Give
you
you
more
less for more, yeah.
Or let's charge you less for more. Charge you less for more. Let's do all of this, like the fucking slimy shit we can, because we gotta. Hey man, we're not here, you know, for you to be happy. We are here to make our shareholders happy, and shareholders are happy if the year over year is better. And so we are in a never-ending, never winnable race of always being better than the previous year. Year over year has to be better, has to be better, has to be better.
Which is actually, I think, one of the reasons why the Xbox coming into the equation, I think, pushed things because they had to compete again. And we need that to happen again. Competition does nothing but help us. But to round it out on final thoughts that are positive for a completely positive episode that had no negativity in it at all.
Bring Dens back.
Bring Dens back. Also,
but don't bring shag carpeting back.
I don't know, like when I was a kid and I had to lay on shag carpet, cleaning shag carpeting sucked.
Because
balls.
shag carpeting, you know, cleaning that shit sucks, like you just said.
Yeah.
So keep your shag carpet clean with manscaped.com.
God, if you could get a carpet to smell like that shit, be like my dog balls
Look,
deep
some
in
things need to remain in the past, like our parents, you know,
like margarita moms.
Margarita mom, like our parents' apathy for grooming, and and love of shag carpeting. Leave that in the past. Embrace the new with with the lawnmower 4.0.
Bring back Dens. Keep trimming your balls.
Keep trimming your balls, and that is the moral of this story.
Good night, everybody.